Is this what you're talking about? It's full of junk. It's a storage shed, you idiot.
No, it's not. It's full of ghosts or spirits or something, and they're just trying to make me look bad.
You don't need ghosts for that. Instead, how about you listen to this episode of the Retro Rewind podcast?
Thunder Road 3 now online. How can I help you travel through movie space-time today? Course entered. Batteries not included. 1987. Is this correct? Course set. Rewinding in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome, Rewinders and new listeners, to the Retro Rewind podcast, where we take a fresh look at movies and games from 15 or more years ago. I'm your captain of the pod, Francisco Ruiz, and I should say I'm your captain of the former pod, Francisco Ruiz, now that I think about it.
The one that blowed up and exploded.
Exactly. I'm your captain of the former pod, Francisco Ruiz, and I'm joined by your XO and mine, Paul, the PaulJPowers.com Powers.
I'm happy to be here with Travis and the Thunder Road 3, and we have two exciting special guests.
We do indeed. For this discussion of the film, Batteries Not Included, we are happy to have aboard for the first time seminary graduate, Twitch streamer, Christian rock metal enthusiast, Gen X pop culture historian, and MMORPG fanatic, David Garrison, also known as Sir Jaziel. Hey, David.
Hello. Hey, how are you guys doing?
Good.
Doing well.
So when discussing, do I call you David or Sir Jaziel?
David's fine.
Okay. Thanks, David.
Yeah.
And then we also have back aboard communications chief of the former pod, Ken Cummings. Hey, Ken.
You found me.
Yes.
I was wondering. I thought I was lost in space. I was like, holy meck, is someone ever going to find me?
You were
Yeah.
in the
Oh, no.
systems and administration escape pod. We found you this last time.
I loved
I
it
was
that when we
very
found
cool.
your pod, the first thing you said was, hello there.
Hello there.
Now that you have a quick flyby of who we are, with Obi-Wan quotes and all, Paul, can you give us a quick overview of the production specs for Batteries Not Included?
Sure. Batteries Not Included was released October 30th and ran through December 4th of 2008. It's
What
only one season with 6
are
episodes,
you
about 30 minutes long.
Talking about
It was broadcasted on the Dave Network and is hosted by John Cleese and Phil
what the
Jupitus
heck is a Dave
narrating.
Network?
It's in England.
Batteries not included.
I thought they only had the BBC over there.
No, they have more channels. This came out in 2008. They've grown a little bit since. It is 15 years or older, right? This is the right one.
Paul?
What?
Dang, I watched the wrong movie.
That sounds like a TV series.
This is
a
one series, 6
movie.
episodes.
This is a movie 1 hour and 46 minutes long.
That could have been brought to my attention yesterday.
Fine, go back.
Maybe if you pay attention the first time when we were talking about these show
You
notes, you know.
said batteries not included. You didn't say asterisks, lowercase batteries, lowercase not, lowercase included.
You're right. What am I thinking? It is all my fault.
All right, good. Now we have 6 episodes to review, folks.
No, we're doing the movie, Paul.
Dang it.
Go back and rewatch it.
All right. Batteries not sorry. Asterisks or asterisk.
Rick, I think.
Okay, anyway, that little star above the 8. Batteries not included, all lowercase, was released December 18th, 1987, and runs an hour and 46 minutes long. It's rated PG and is directed by Matthew Robbins. It was written by Mick Garris, Brad Bird, and Matthew Robbins, with lead stars being Hume Cronin. I'm sorry, Hume, I don't know how to pronounce your last name. Jessica Tandy, and Michael Carmine. I think that's how you pronounce that. With music by James Horner. Are you ready for the box office trivia?
So I'm ready. Ken, David, are you guys ready?
Yep. Sure.
And anyone live in chat, you're welcome to play along as we guess where Batteries Not Included ranked in the top. Well, Paul, how many films are we going from this time?
Well, we'll get there as we go into the box office trivia.
All right, let's do that first then.
All right. Batteries Not Included was made for about $25 million and earned over $32 million at the box office.
Oh. A little bit of over profit there.
Yeah. Given this fact, how how high in the box office do you think it ranks among the movies released theatrically in 1987? And this time we'll go for the top 50.
Alrighty. So
this is not adjusted for inflation worldwide.
Sure. Well, that wouldn't matter based on where
exactly.
On 1987. Let's see. Let's start with David. What's your guess for where this ranked among other 1987 movies?
Oh man, there were some really good movies that year that did really well. I would reckon it's somewhere in the 40s, probably 42.
42. Oh,
nice.
Bobo's answer.
That's the Bobo number. Yeah.
That's the answer to everything. It's a safe answer.
Ken, what's your guess?
Well, I was going to say 42, but I said, no, I'm going to do something different, okay?
Okay.
But then Jazio said 42, but I don't care anymore. I'm going to do something different.
Wow.
I'm going to do 21.
21.
And not because it's after 42. I just thought 21.
All right. Let's see. In chat, we have several guesses. We have Sean guessing 12, Star Fox guessing 37, Matthew guessing 13, and for me, I think I'm going to go dead middle 25. Paul, where did it actually end up, though?
Well, according to the-numbers.com, it came in at 36.
36. Okay, so
Star Fox wins with his guess of 37.
Yes, indeed. Good job, Star
By the
Fox.
way, 37 was Harry and the Hendersons.
Oh, really?
Really?
Oh, my gosh.
What was number one that year?
Fatal Attraction.
Yeah.
Boiling bunnies are loved by all, apparently. But thank you for those factoids, Paul. And let's see if any of them factor into our memory mind meld or subsequent roundtable discussion, which we'll get into once Travis has located our target film.
Alert. Alert. Target located. Spoilers incoming. Establishing analysis vector.
5 ordinary people needed a miracle.
Help us, somebody.
Then one night, Fay Riley left the window open.
Welcome to America. This is history. Machines that reproduce themselves. They're spaceships. From a very small planet.
Steven Spielberg presents a Matthew Robbins film, Batteries Not Included.
Now playing at a theater near you, check your local.
Yes, check your local. That's where you check for these movies, in your local. But
Sounds right.
no, that commercial definitely brought back some memories about Batteries Not Included. But to give you some context for the things we collectively remembered most before our rewatch, here is our memory mind meld synopsis of Batteries Not Included. It's another cocoon. No, wait. 2 alien droids come to an old New York building that is trying to be destroyed. The owners and tenants of the building are helped by the robots, and then the robots make baby robots. I think the Fix-Its arrived to aid in bringing restoration to the characters more so than the building. But I don't remember the ending. I just wanted more of the Jessica Tandy and Hume Chrome.
Chronim.
Chronim?
I think it's Chronim.
Fine, Chronim. Like him, I guess.
Chronim.
You know what? Some of that, actually, I think most of that was right.
But it's not
subjective. Oh, it's not Cocoon. That's right. Totally, totally deceptive. Yeah, because we had to be round the money with these things. But based on those memories as totally flawed as they were, what rating did they lead you to predict for this film before your rewatch? Classic, nostalgic, or tragic? Let's start with David. What was your prediction for Barriers Not Included?
Mine was classic.
Classic. Okay, wow.
Yeah.
Ken, how about you?
1987. I got married in that year. Mm-hmm. And I was just thinking, probably watching it on VHS with my wife. So I thought it'd be nostalgic.
You watched it on VHS when it came out, the year 1987?
I watched it on VHS.
Uh-huh.
I don't know what year VHS came. I'm sorry. Okay. But anyway, I said nostalgic. You're going to call me out on my chronological. You're right. Good point. I probably watched it. I mean, I didn't watch it in theater. I probably saw it on VHS. But
okay. I mean, that's fine. I'm trying to keep the timeline straight. We're going zip around time as it is.
Apart.
Exactly.
Madness out here.
Can we go visit my old place while we're here? 87.
No, we're only in the movie Space Time of 1987. Not real time.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, sorry.
The movie space-time continuum.
Exactly. Paul, what was your prediction?
I'm going to tell a long story and then say nostalgic.
Are you actually going to tell a long story?
No, it was edited out.
Oh
Sorry, you
my
missed it, folks.
I got bored.
Yeah.
Instead of speeding it up like I did in Superman 3, I just cut it out. Sorry.
Yeah.
I
spent more time talking about cutting it out than actually cutting it out.
Wow. And I predicted tragic.
Tragic?
Nicely
Yes.
across the board.
Okay, guys. Well, it'll be interesting. Yes, we are across the board in our predictions, and it'll be interesting to see if those predictions come true. But first, let's get into the things we liked most about Barry's Not Included. Travis, let's get to our
Best bits.
All right. And let's start with our newest guest, David. What's one thing you liked about Batteries Not Included?
Well, I know Kenneth knows here. Paul's kind of new to me, and you probably know I'm known as the Music Man. So I know that's where we're watching the movie, man. You're supposed to talk about the movie. I am. It's the soundtrack, and I actually own the soundtrack. I'm not ashamed to say it. I said this would be a classic.
Wow.
James Horner is his work.
Cool.
His work as a composer was just awesome. I mean, there's other composers that I probably would, one or two that I would put ahead of him, but
like Basil Poledouris.
No,
I mean,
John Billiams.
Oh my gosh! How dare you?
Oh my goodness! How dare you?
Yeah.
Anyway, he's worked on all kinds of stuff: Avatar, The Perfect Storm, Titanic, Mask of Zorro. I mean, he just was putting out multiple movies per year, and I thought this one was really good. It was one of his earlier ones.
Mm-hmm.
There are I don't know that I have the soundtrack to this movie, but I have several of the others.
Mm-hmm.
And I really loved it. And I loved the theme song to this movie. I thought it, that whole 1940s era, World War II, post-World War II-ish kind of thing that was going on at the beginning. And then they were playing it during the film.
Yeah.
I thought that was a perfect little touch, especially with the montage and everything. And I just thought it, there's some soundtracks where the music just doesn't seem to fit, and especially in the 80s.
Yeah.
It's almost distracting. And in this film, it just felt natural. Like all the musical scores felt right. They felt in place, and they didn't distract from what was going on in the picture.
It was a good timepiece. He did a good job with that. Although I'll disagree for me personally on the theme. I mean, it's not memorable. Like,
I can't remember the music. Wow.
That's not from the movie.
No, and that's not time.
Paul's saying that is memorable versus the score of this movie, which I agree I don't think it was bad in any way. I think it certainly added to all the emotional cues that the movie was looking for, but there's nothing memorable about, like, a more memorable theme for me of James Horner would be like
Star Trek II Wrath of Khan.
I was gonna say Willow. Dun, 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 dun,
Oh yeah, that's probably
Oh well, yeah.
So
I agree with that.
But yeah,
Sorry, James, you got to do better than what you haven't done yet.
Yeah, so come back from the dead and do better.
apparently, he already has, from what we're seeing on here.
Ken, was the music something you enjoyed, or was there something else you liked about Barry's Not Included?
The music.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you
nice.
I love the old and new.
Okay.
I mean, some of the classic music, because you're talking about, like showing Jessica Tandy and Hume Cronin, they've been married. They were married. They were married, by the way. Okay.
Yeah.
So she passed away first. Yeah. For real.
Yeah.
And so that's why the beginning of the movie, you see all those still pictures.
And there are apparently actual pictures of them.
Yeah. That's them. So the music added to the whole thing. It really added to the whole, because in some respects, some of the movie you're going to see is more visual, and the music helped out with that. So yeah, music was my number 3.
Okay. Very nice. Paul, did you love the music too?
I already commented on the music, so I'm going to go What I loved about this and it being very 80s is that there were a lot of physical stunts, like when throwing people out, that was like, this is real. These are people being real, like tumbling and things, like they could get hurt, but it really added to the story. It really brought up the level of what is that? They raised it
believability.
Yeah, but also the
Realism?
stakes a little bit.
The stakes.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. It made it feel more real, helped ground it a little bit more.
Yeah, I can't believe that one guy broke his kneecap. Man, I was like, wow, that's crazy. And then he healed instantly and was able to go run away to his car. How does that happen?
Yeah,
amazing.
It's the 80s. What can I tell you? It's probably some cocaine party he was part of.
Wow. Okay, so yeah, all the stunts. That's an awesome one. For me, I actually, this is kind of small, but I liked the main construction guy foreman, played by John DeSanti, Gus. I liked how he interacted with Jessica Tandy's character Faye. I liked how he told Kovacs, we're going to move when he moves. Like has so much humanity to him. He's not just some foreman that's going to be like, yeah, whatever you say, boss, and just lockstep, do whatever the big man says. He's like, no, we'll go. Don't worry. We're going to do it. And then the only part I don't like is that he steals the hamburger from the guy next to him just because he thinks he steals it. I don't like that part, but everything else about him I really liked. Let's go back to David. What's something else you enjoyed?
The other part that I really did enjoy was kind of covered there, that I liked the actors. I thought that they did a really good job. Again, for that time period, things can get really hokey, especially when it is a movie that's not to be taken entirely seriously. Usually it would be very over the top kind of acting. Yeah. And you could kind of tell that they were Tandy and Hebb were married in real life, because they had this natural chemistry that was just beautiful. Yeah. There was something definitely there that just went through the screen to the viewer, I think. And the rest of the cast, there were a few scenes that were a little bit 80s, but for the most part, I thought they did a great job. I believed them. I kind of was able to, in a way, put myself into that situation and be like, I felt like they might be neighbors that I would have here at my apartment complex.
That's a good point. Yeah.
I think we're going to have an interesting discussion.
You know what else is interesting is that was my
Paul?
second like.
What?
It was almost my first. Usually, like the cast really brings it, is usually like the classic maker, but for this one I struggled a bit, and I decided to put the cast as number 2. But I agree with Sir Jaziel that the cast was I thought each character was they uniquely their own, I should say, and felt believable. And I thought they did a good job. I will
totally get on board with that. And in fact, the one that I thought was one of the more believable ones, and I thought this was actually a lot more true to life. And it was the character of Carlos, and I really liked that he didn't really have redemption by the end of it. It's almost like the story is setting him up to be like a fill-in Bobby for Faye and Frank, their son that died. But by the end, it's nice that Faye has sort of come to grips with the loss of her son and rejects him as Bobby. So all the bad stuff he did, his comeuppance is he doesn't get any redemption, which I thought that was, usually I really like redemption stories, but I thought it was nice that there was nothing really inherently. It's tough because he saves Faye, which almost sets him up to have some sort of redemption. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I think it speaks to just because you do one nice thing doesn't mean that all your wrongdoing is forgiven. So I like that dynamic.
It reminds me of the whole garbage in, garbage out. I mean, if you're a character, or if your character isn't doing a lot of bad stuff, it's rare. It does happen, like, oh, one day everything switches and you no longer struggle with that. I think it's a real it does a real good job showing of, hey, if you're used to doing bad things, you're gonna continue doing them. It'll be a struggle.
Yeah.
And I like that. I thought his struggle was real.
Mm-hmm. Maybe you could say his heart wasn't really changed just because he threw away the flowers instead of like giving them to her and leaving them.
Yeah.
He just like throws them away. So I don't know. I'm sort of like reading into that character a bit. But
it looked like Ken was about to say something about that, but no, I'm sorry. I read into that wrong.
And I would like to read into wherever Ken's next like is before we get to our classic makers. So what's your last like?
Well, number 2 was not the cast for me. Okay.
Oh, okay.
It was the camera shots and the cinematography.
Okay.
I like the way that they framed things and way they kind of came through things. It was a way that the whole thing was shot and filmed. I know that I was reading that one of the trivia things that they were looking around for a building in the middle of nowhere. They finally found a building that was around and had to build up a facade in front of it. But the way the camera person was, or the way they directed it, way the filming of it all, I just like that.
Very cool.
Yeah, the setting was very real.
Yeah. That it's my dislikes.
Well, not all settings, but we'll get back. But as far as like the neighborhood,
it was cool out. It felt like, it seemed like, I don't know if the interiors were the same as the exterior, but they looked like it very well could have been. And it was, from like everything I could tell, it looked like a real building, which was really cool to see. So I would agree with you there, Ken. But now let's get into the most agreeable things about this film, our classic makers. And I'm going to start with Paul this time. What did you love most about Asterisk Batteries Not Included?
Well, my classic maker for
Batteries Not Included
is, especially after watching Superman 3 as our previous episode, is that I thought the blue screen effects were very much better than Superman 3.
Yeah. Well, it's
now,
4 years ahead.
Yeah.
But granted, in today's viewing, they are still obvious, like blue. A lot of them are still obvious. They, what is and what isn't. But that being said, I love the practical effects, the actual building of the little robots and making them move. They're not CG like we are used to seeing today. I love the practical effects when. So
I honestly, and this is my classic maker as well, Paul, is the design of the Fix-Its particularly. I really thought they had awesome designs. It was hard for me to tell when they were using like blue screen or when it was live on set, because the way, like when their first time they're on set, they're going through Faye and Frank's apartment, and you see their light pulses from them emanate from the spaceships in a very real way. So I'm like, I think they're actually there, or if they're not, I don't know how they're doing it because it looks so.
It's
it
a
was
combo.
fooling me. It's a
lot
combo?
of time.
Okay.
It was a combo. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Especially you could. Well,
I got ruined the illusion for me, Paul.
All right, come over to my house, watch it on the 4K TV with the colors adjusted, and you'll be able to tell. Sorry.
No, I could certainly see it in some places, especially with the little robots, like when they're falling. I could tell, and there are certainly places where the camera doesn't really move in the way it would need to track an actual thing.
And some of the perspective shots, it's like, oh, they're going down the hallway, they're shrinking a little too much when going around that kind of thing.
But
that
makes sense.
The fact that they used real practical robots and then placed that on top of the screen, I mean, I think really helped.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go to David. What was your classic maker for Barry's Not Included?
It's the same thing. It's the practical effects.
Yeah.
I love seeing that building burn to the ground so practically.
And it was yes. I mean, there obviously was a little work there, a little trickery from ILM, and this quite obviously was also kind of the earlier work from them, as we know. A few years after that, then we get things like Jurassic Park, which was just wow.
Yeah.
So this was kind of. There was a lot of
learning.
learning.
Half of it was wow.
Yeah.
Wow, right. So some of the green screen stuff worked. Some of it didn't. But I was willing to forgive that again. It's the 80s. And I remember when I first watched it in the movie theater that that was awesome. I couldn't tell the difference. Now that we have all this cool Marvel stuff and everything, it's like, oh, I see it now. But I thought it was great. And I just really, especially with the fix-its, I mean, having those not being like hand-drawn cartoons or something, they could have gone any number of ways with that.
That's true.
And I just am a sucker for that stuff. I rewatch the making of Star Wars and all those films over and over again, more than I probably watch the movies at this point. So I love model making and all that for movies. Yeah.
Oh, very cool. Ken? Are we going to make this a four-peat? I don't know if you guys mentioned it before, okay, but my number one was the cast.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The cast, and I wrote because, obviously the cast, but also I loved the unspoken words. It was the way it was acted in a way that it wasn't always the words being spoken. And it wasn't just the humans, it was the fix-its too.
Yeah.
The puppetry on the fix-its, the way they were able to compel emotion and signal different things was amazing.
So the cast, absolutely. I include the fix-it, the cast too, but I thought the whole movie, the cast, right, everyone did a great job. It was all you just fell into it. You loved them. And it was great to do that.
We'll get more into that later.
Apparently, we're going to have some disagreements because someone did say tragic, but the cast, okay? I love Jessica Tandy and Hume Cronin for the different things they do, right? And so it was fun. And of course, the fix-its, right? I've noticed, like you guys mentioned practical effects, the fact that the eyes or the lights, you could tell which one was the mom and the dad.
And even the female one, I guess, had more curve to it, less angular. And so I thought that was a really good sort of a...
Are you going to bring up the hot alien action again?
No. I Edna moded that out. Why are you bringing that
I guess this is a callback for you Edna mode listeners.
Well, I don't know about that. It will be something we might hear about in the future.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yes.
Anyway, okay, so awesome. So you love the characters. Fantastic, guys. Well,
the cast.
The cast. Yeah. Oh, the cast. Yeah, I'm sorry. My apologies. Well, then there is a lot to like about this movie, but there are things that we may not like. So it's probably a good time. Sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Unbelievably sorry. I wish someone would fix my notes. I need to fix it to fix my notes because I keep missing that. I have one more thing I like, guys.
It must be me.
That'll be the Cellcast.
Oh.
The Cellcast, hosted by Jacob and Drew, review animated movies and TV shows, discussing what they appreciate about the medium in whatever form it takes, whether it is traditional hand-drawn animated movies, claymation shorts, or a 3D CGI series. Check out some animated reviews when you subscribe to the Cellcast at thecellcast.podbean.com. And don't forget that cell is spelled with a C and a single L at thecellcast.podbean.com.
That's great, Francisco, but we already talked about how the robots are not like traditionally animated. So
well, they cover puppets and stuff, and Matthew, what's-him-but's-him's name? The director, Matthew Robbins, was the writer for the Guillermo del Toro, not Pokemon, Pinocchio. And the Cellcast covered that version of Pinocchio on their show.
That's great, Francisco, but we're not covering Pinocchio. So what does the Cellcast have to do with asterisk batteries not included?
Absolutely nothing, which is what you were about to become. Yeah! How about some trivia then, Paul? Because no, there isn't a great connection. Okay.
Yes, as long as it's about
Batteries not included.
It is about that.
Okay.
So, did you all realize that a horror film was going to be titled Batteries Not Included, but was forced to change its name when this film was being written? That movie turned out to be Child's Play. You look like you're going to cue up a sound, Paul. Sometimes you move your hand, and I'm thinking, are you going to press something? So
I
I'm gonna
was
wait
going
for
to
it,
play
but then I don't know. There you go. I like so my question to you all is, if your life was a horror movie, not the other one, a horror movie, what would the 2 to 3 word title of that movie be? So I'm going to start with Paul.
Well, I don't know about my whole life, but I'll go back to when I was the age of 10.
Okay.
And I was playing around with my cousins. Did you ever like glance by something quickly and you think you see like
something,
a shadow around the corner or something, and you look back and it's not there, but you know you saw, so you go like, so then you test quickly again and you see it, but it's for a split second, right? So my cousins and I, we were freaking out because we were about the same age, because we're getting our imagination, letting get it.
And you hear the dog barking in the background?
Yes.
That's a telltale sign that this is a horror story. Yes.
So we were freaking out because we were seeing shadow people. So, my horror story movie would be about those shadow people. Like all of us, people are disappearing, and it's the shadow.
So what's the title?
2 to 3 words. I was gonna.
The shadow people could work.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. It's not as terrifying as In the Shadows.
In the Shadows. Okay.
I guess. I don't know.
Sure.
It's not as dramatic as. I mean, Child's Play. That's pretty good. Batteries not included. That's good too. So I have to workshop the title a bit, but.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go with Jazeel next, or David.
Well, I seem to have Murphy's Law thing going on in my life, as well as the rest of my family. So
they had a TV show about it.
Yeah, this is going to be kind of hokey, but I decided just to call it Murphy's Claw.
Ooh. Oh, you're scared of the claw. It's going to get you.
Because if it was a horror movie, it would be all the scary and stuff. Like Murphy's Law is chasing me down,
I thought Murphy was scary as it was. Then you add a claw to it.
Well, leprechauns are very mischievous.
Oh, my word. Bobo in chat says real life, because what's scarier than that? Wow.
Right?
Wow, Bobo. And how about you, Ken?
Choo Choo Kennethan.
Choo Choo Kennethan.
Because there's a game called Choo Choo Charles.
Yes.
And I was thinking that a horror movie.
You love trains.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
you
funny.
choose me.
So I changed my name right now on the stream.
Nice.
There, Choo Choo Kennethan.
I like it.
Nice.
Very, very awesome, guys. Thanks for playing along.
And great trivia, Francisco.
Thank you, Paul.
And now that we've all had some trivial fun, let's find out what memories you, our awesome rewinders, had about Asterix, Batteries Not Included.
All right. Dustin Warford says, love this movie as a little kid. Made me use a dog whistle to try and get robots to fly to my house.
Oh, wow. Cool. Adam Cooling says, very warm feel.
I know you always say that one, but it's Adam Collins.
You're right. There's only one O. Sorry, Adam. One of these days I might get it right. Adam Calling says, very warm feelings. Enjoyed it as a kid and a great time sharing it with my own kids recently.
Aww.
I love the emotional character story with the main couple and the idea of sentient machine aliens was a very cool sci-fi concept.
Stephen Forrester says, not a whole lot, but I do remember liking it as a kid and getting really emotional near the end of the movie, especially when one of the characters actually said the line, Batteries Not Included. For some reason, though, I have a nagging feeling that I would probably hate it today.
Ooh. Jeremy Shields says, I barely remember that old flick.
Who Will Save Generation X podcast says, I remember thinking that they added an asterisk to the title as a gimmick in order to come first alphabetically in the video store. Nice try, Steven Spielberg. Hashtag tragic.
David Bopke says, batteries not included? More like my viewership not included. I've never seen it, but I wonder if there's anything you guys wish you hadn't seen in this movie.
You know what? I think there's going to be a lot of that, or at least some of that. So let's get into our dislike section. Bring it to us, Travis.
Worst woes.
Nice save, Travis.
Just like that segue was a worst woe for me personally. All right, let's get into the things we didn't like. And I'm going to start us off, guys.
Oh, you're not going to kick us off?
This is going to take next hour now.
No,
we're just getting started.
I'm not going to monologue that long, Ken.
No, but if you have 20 minutes for each one, that's an hour.
So this thing is very personal to me, and I could see a lot of people this not bothering. So this is why I'm starting with it. I have a hard time watching people in movies with dementia who Jessica Tandy seems to be suffering from. She did a great job of showing it. I'm not demeaning her acting ability at all in that. I don't like seeing it. I don't know if it's because it makes me fear that happening to myself or my loved ones. But I just see myself in like Frank's shoes, just getting so frustrated that she's just not doing what he's asking her to do, and you can't remember things. And I don't like that about me, that I would get frustrated with someone that can't help it. But that's what I didn't like, seeing that on screen. So let's go to Ken next. What's something you didn't like about Barry's Not
His
Included?
name's Choo Choo Kennethan.
I'm sorry, Choo Choo Kennethan. What did you not like about Barry's Not Included?
Well, what I did not like, my third dislike was I had no dislike.
Oh my! Well,
you dislike that you didn't have another dislike.
That's
okay.
right. So
I don't know if anyone's ever used that before. Over 10 years. Is that a first? I'm sorry, I don't remember. I might have a little bit of dementia.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Oh.
Hashtag too soon? Question mark.
Wow. All right. David, do you have a dislike at the bottom of your list?
I do.
Okay.
I have three things. I have a hated.
Good. You you actually did the assignment, unlike someone else here.
Sounds like it, but maybe he fell asleep. It's okay. He works hard. He works hard for his money. Wait, that's a different movie.
Oh my goodness.
So this is a personal thing to me as well. So I guess we both went that route.
Oh, okay.
I have obsessive compulsive disorder. And the doctor says I'm getting better and I am on medication.
Oh, cool.
But apparently not that much because, the evil corporate protagonists proceeded to go ahead and build those big old skyscrapers around that little building.
Yeah.
And it made me do the whole cringe thing. I actually went like that. And my daughter looked over at me like, what's wrong? Like she thought there was like a monster on the screen or something. I said, well, it is. That is a monster.
To some, yes.
I'm like, the architecture, there's modern and there's classic and there's big, tall, and there's this little tiny building in between. And I just can't, I almost hit the go forward 10 seconds thing a couple times. Yeah. So that would be my first one.
Okay. That's interesting.
Wow.
It totally reminded me of Up. What was happening in the movie Up.
Yeah.
Yes.
But let's go to Paul then. What's something you didn't like?
It being an 80s movie, being several decades old, home video was introduced by 87.
Yeah.
But for some reason, they still went with flat painted backgrounds when they're on the rooftop during the day.
You. This is my next one.
I don't know.
ApologyPowers.com.
Takes you way out, and it's obviously they're on a stage.
Yes.
So way to take us out of the movie.
Right? And they have that roof with that shed because Carlos is binocular looking and Jessica Tandy waves back. So it's there. I've seen it. The only thing I can think of is maybe the roof was not architecturally sound for some of the stunts or the electricity shocks or something like that. That's the only reason I could think.
A clear picture. Yeah. Or the camera might have been heavy, all the equipment.
Yeah. So, but still, that totally took me out of it too, Paul.
Yep. So I took that for you.
Thanks for that. Oh, well, Ken, would you like to borrow that one? You could borrow that as something you didn't like.
No, I didn't notice that. So
Oh
maybe
my
I should
gosh.
watching Amazon Prime. I mean, I saw some of the
you
other
watched...
things like the CGI or not quite CGI, but
yeah.
Oh, you know what? We haven't done this in a while. I'm curious. What resolution did we all watch this on? So I watched this on about a 20-inch 1080p screen. Paul, you watched on like a 100-inch 4K monitor or something like that?
It's a 1080p blown up to a 65 4K screen.
Okay.
65-inch.
Okay. Ken?
Amazon Prime HD on my computer here.
Okay.
Is that an 18-inch monitor?
27-inch monitor.
27, nice.
27, wow.
How about you, David?
It's 65-inch 4K.
Ooh,
Nice.
okay. So we have the spectrum here. Nice.
Yeah.
All right. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's go back to David. What's something else you don't like?
Well, it kind of took the breath out of it. It's the same thing. It's
really?
the matte paintings in the background on the rooftop. They were terrible.
I wouldn't go that far. But
I mean, the
they were
windows
bad.
didn't even blink. Like, come on.
they were bad. They were bad on my TV. I was like, it was so
I was
bad.
watching the movie.
Yeah, you were probably invested in something like character or plot.
Yeah,
I personally wasn't, and we're going to get into it real soon.
it was like a sore thumb. It stood out so like just glaring bad.
Yeah. I have the same feeling about The Princess Bride when they're at the cliffs of insanity and looking right there at the edge. It's totally matte painting right there. What, Paul? Yeah, there is something to dislike about that movie. That's right. And now I have this as evidence whenever we do cover that, as you can't bring it up as something you didn't like.
Oh, I'm not disagreeing with you.
It is bad, but that's a great movie.
No, I agree. I have no Princess Bride is a great movie, but we're not talking about that now.
So was Monty Python.
Except that's not a movie. Ken, why don't you talk about this movie, Barry's Not Included, with something with something you didn't like about.
Well, I didn't like. I mean, the physics are fine, all right, but the whole idea of replicating robots, machines, of like what, giving birth, right?
Yeah.
Having sex? Seriously?
No, it's a light show.
Light show. Okay, whatever.
There was
But, of course, when she
Are you
gave
saying
birth-
sparks don't fly? Wait, never mind.
Oh my gosh.
She gave birth to twins, and all of a sudden, out pops another one. Right? I'm like, what? Okay, whatever. Okay, no, I'm sorry.
Sweet.
They had
I
extra
understand
parts.
it's science fiction. I understand you're supposed to take some of your criticism out. Okay, but I'm just like, no, that was one of my dislikes was the unbelievable part of replicating machines, giving birth, and having sex. Okay, so,
What would have made that more believable to you?
I guess if they had done it the way that machines get built,
Okay.
How do you know those sparks weren't and those lights weren't them building the little machines?
inside of her belly. Okay.
Yes, exactly.
Well, wouldn't she have if she's a mothership, don't motherships construct inside themselves? They have hangar bays.
Maybe.
Like I played the game Homeworld, and you start off with this mothership, and you make the ships inside the mothership.
You sound like you're bragging. That's not something to brag about.
Well, when we saw that when the mother was repairing the father who got hit with the axe, right?
Yeah.
So literally construction like that. That makes sense. Okay?
That would make more sense. Yes, I agree.
If they had been working together on these little babies, in the little shed with the sparks, yeah. But no, they were.
Well, that's intimate and private. You're not supposed to see that.
They had sex, and then she popped out. Anyways, never mind.
Yeah, it wouldn't really make sense that they need to reproduce in the same way.
So one
as
of your
human beings.
dislikes is robot sex?
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Now that we're all clear about that, that's good.
That's fair.
Wow. I did not see that one coming. Let's
Really?
go to me next, I guess. Something. Oh, we already talked about the rooftop skyline. That was a very poor done backdrop. I'll say the sun was the thing that sort of I spot instantly as just like this splotch of really. I mean, it's fine. I'm sure for the time it was done fine, but no, thank you. Senor Spielbergo, work on that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Paul, what's your last thing you just like before we get to our tragic makers?
All right. Well, this and my tragic maker, it kind of goes hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
But it absolutely annoyed me and frustrated me about why these people want to stay in a rundown building in a rundown neighborhood. I mean, the neighborhood is literally in pieces.
They like the war zone aesthetic.
Yes, and they're being paid money to leave. Like, I don't understand the motivation. Like, oh yeah, you were raised here. Well, there's a time and a place for everything, and it's obviously time to move on.
I will say, for the older characters, Frank and Faye, and then the other two older ones that actually do move, I can see them like, this is where they've always lived. This is the place they know. They have ownership. Them saying, but
I
not
understand
Michael
them
Douglas
wanting,
and
but-
Elizabeth Pena's character, Marissa. They should have left because they have. I assume they weren't born and raised in this apartment complex.
And even if they were, they need to get out.
Yeah, exactly. So I would agree with you there. That wasn't my
the whole motivation. The main motivation for this movie, I did not get.
Okay. I'm curious, David or Ken, do you have any sort of rebuttal to that or a reasoning that even if it's just headcanon for why they would
So
say?
you accept robot sex, but you can't accept that. Okay.
Absolutely.
Whatever.
Money talks.
Money talks.
What?
Well, there's so many stories of people who are not going to move, not going to move, not going to move. And because you hear stories about people who do not move and they fight the system and they win.
That's
Kind of fight.
fine.
So, but
If you're living off the land and you want to protect your homestead because that's where that's your right, that's fine. But they don't have a right. They're not apartment owners. They are tenants.
Oh, the tenants?
Yeah, I mean, maybe Frank and Faye own the building. That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah.
But that was
the
never
rest
mentioned.
are tenants.
No, yeah.
Well, so I was thinking, I know why the main character is right, because obviously, with her
Dementia
state of
or
mind,
something.
right?
Yeah.
Obviously the woman, because she was pregnant, waiting for her boyfriend to come back, take her away somewhere. We know why Harry's there, as he had nowhere else to go, so to speak, right? He had been boxing too much. He had lost some of his mental faculties, right? Mason's the only one I'm like, yeah, why, dude? You literally can go somewhere else, okay? You're probably the most mobile of everyone, but
yeah. Well, maybe he's thinking, well, this is how artists are supposed to live. Like starving artists are supposed to live like this. That's maybe the mindset he might have, but I don't know. Regardless, guys, let's get into the things we hate most about Batteries Not Included. Let's get to our tragic makers. I'm going to go right back to Ken. What's the thing you hate most about this film?
Well, you mentioned as one of your dislikes is the dementia thing, okay?
Oh, okay. Oh.
My mother-in-law passed away. She had dementia. Watching someone deteriorate, right? It's just not good. My friend and his wife, her mother is living with them and having dementia. And I was reading about this whole thing in the Did You Know type of trivia, right? That they said that may not have been dementia was they're intending in the movie, but more of the whole shock of loss, because it was him, I mean, the father and son, Bobby, they're fighting, right? And he finally wanted to get away. He wanted to buy a car, and then the car as he was leaving, he got into the accident and got killed.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure that, her is like, it was a shock of losing her son.
Yeah.
That might have snapped her, like you always see those stories, people snap, right? So it may not be dementia, but still, I just didn't, the whole dementia thing. I mean, I maybe back then in 1987, it wasn't a big deal as much, I mean, obviously, President Reagan was president. After he left office, we found out that he has Alzheimer's. And so it became a little more prevalent, and probably most people in the back today are like, well, either you're losing your mind, you're getting old, you're just forgetting things, or in this case, maybe like a shock of thing. But yeah, that's the part I wrote down. My main dislike was the whole dementia portion of it, and that's why. I like one example is I think that's the reason why it's not shock but dementia, because they're reading a paper together, while the robot fixers are pouring coffee, whatnot. She goes, whatever happened to General Eisenhower?
Exactly.
She is a president. She said General Eisenhower. The war went back, way back, okay?
Yeah.
And he's looking at her like he just kind of like stops it off. He's been living with her for a while now, right? But that was the part.
Well, she's right. They never do talk about him. It's like they never mention him anymore. Like she doesn't say whatever happened to him. She just says they don't mention him. They never, and she's absolutely 100% right. They don't. Why is that?
Well, we're mentioning him now. Isn't he happy? I'm sure he's not alive anymore. Let's go next. Thank you, Ken. Yeah. So thank you for affirming my dislike. Feels
You're
good.
welcome.
Wow. Let's go to Paul next. What's your tragic maker for this?
Okay, so my tragic maker is basically, it goes back with the whole motivation, like I said, my number 2. But it's like a 1-2 punch. That's the one. The second punch and the main thing is that it's slow and boring. I mean, after 20 minutes, if I was in the theater, I would have walked out because you have this whole motivation of people not moving, and it's like, I just don't care. And it just moves. So these people won't move. Fine. Let them, leave them to their own destructive devices. I'm leaving. If we were not reviewing this for the podcast, I would have not finished this watch
Really?
easily.
Oh
I would want my time back. I could do something better with it.
I paid $5 to have this movie forever on Prime, instead of $4 just to rent it.
Nice.
I paid $4 to rent it. If that tips my hand at all. So, Jizzy, or David, what was your tragic maker? I'm saving mine for last because I think that has possible most discussion. But what was your tragic maker,
Well,
David?
it's going to probably... I thought about some of those things that have already been said as well.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And my grandfather, who I was pretty much raised by my grandparents.
Oh, wow.
And my grandfather, I helped him for the last 2 years of his life. My mother and I were the only ones taking care of him 24 hours. I would be there for 12 hours, and then my mother would be there for 12 hours. And, But for some reason, watching Tandy's character, Faye, go through that, it was heartbreaking. And I understood, especially her husband, how getting frustrated with hey, why can't you just snap out of it? Because they would have like these vivid dreams and wake up from them. And my grandfather would go back to World War II. He was a P-38 pilot. He would go back to that. He worked for 40 years for California Highway Patrol. He would go back to that. And he'd be running calls, or he'd say, "Where are my keys? I need to get to my unit. There's a call going out." And he would be so upset, and there was nothing I could do to break him out of that. So I also had that, but whenever I was going, okay, is that it? Or was, this is going to sound like I just cheesed it out, but it's the truth, man. What bothered me more was God's name being used in vain 3 times at the beginning of the movie.
Oh, wow. Okay. I didn't notice that. Jeez. Who was using his name in vain?
Her husband.
Oh, Frank.
He said the GD. And both of those weigh pretty heavy on the hated, but the God's name in vain for me just really hit
really got
harder.
you.
It's unnecessary.
I don't need to hear it. Please, they could have left that out.
Yeah. It would have been just as effective without it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, for me, guys, the thing I had most was I didn't care about these characters at all. I'm
slow and boring.
Wow.
I'm just like, I think the Fix-Its coming gave them all some hope, but it felt like they didn't really grow as characters as a result of that. I mean, I feel like they're just sort of there. They continue doing what they were doing. Just I don't see any real character
how they're
growth.
better off for it.
How they're better off for it. Yeah, they have
by staying in that build. Well,
by the end they have a new building, which is great. But I mean, there is some. I guess Faye having coming to grips with Bobby being dead, I think is a good thing. Especially if dementia wasn't what the screenwriters were going for. It was going for sort of trapped in this loss. But yeah, I agree with you, Ken. The thing she says doesn't seem to fit that. It seems to fit dementia better. So that is good that she came to grips with that. I could have seen that happening somewhere else. I could have seen that happening without the robots. I didn't see what real purpose the robots coming other than fixing the building. I mean, it seems like this was a metaphor for, they fixed the outside, but really it was their hearts that changed. But I didn't see any real change of heart in any of these characters.
Well,
they
Mason
seem like
and Marissa, now they're a couple.
They
Right.
would have. I feel like they
Towards
would
each
have
other,
gone
yeah.
that they're already headed toward that point even before the robots. I don't think there was anything that would have kept that from happening.
Well, they weren't friends until the robots came. They were across the hall, but they weren't like
Well, they
engaging.
would
like
have because she
Because she saw the art. Yeah. And then,
the robots didn't do that.
That was all before the robots came.
Yeah,
So
good point.
I just don't see a lot of growth in these characters that make the robots coming like, oh my gosh, their lives were going all downhill and now they're going right. And oh my gosh, thank you God for this miracle of these robots coming. It just didn't seem, it just seemed like it. I think there's a similarity. I don't wholly agree with the whole idea of in Rares of the Lost Ark, there's no Indiana Jones being there doesn't really impact what would have happened, that you could just take him out and everything would have happened just the same. I don't wholly agree with that. I think there is a dynamic to him being there, but I think it's similar in that regard. I think it would have taken more time, but I think all these characters would have ended up in the same spot without these robots. So I don't see the point of having, what's the point of this movie? I think is really what I'm trying to say. Other than seeing robot sex, because apparently that's important to these filmmakers. But that's my tragic maker for Barry's Not Included.
You know, you're tragic. Jeez.
I'm tragic. You're tragic, Ken.
I'm not tragic. I think I've already guessed what your final rating is going to be on this.
Well, you did? Wow. You're like a detective retro genius person.
Right. I had a long time sitting in that escape pod waiting for you guys to rescue me to think about things.
Yeah, good. I'm glad you said and stewed about what I would rate this movie, Ken.
That's right, man. Yeah.
All right, guys. Well,
Spiraling.
Now that we stop, it's not spiraling, Paul. It's elbowing. It's the elbow
gaining
noodles.
control, gaining.
Something like that. Now that we've entered all our trajectories into the firing computer, Travis, do you have a firing solution for us?
Firing solution complete. Salvo authority accepted. Ratings prepared to launch.
Glad someone accepted the salvo authority.
Oh my gosh. I will rewrite that in a heartbeat, Paul.
Uh-huh.
Now
Look what's happened when you tried to rewrite Alice.
Now, oh my gosh. Now it's time for the moment of truth. Do we rate Asterisk, Batteries Not Included, a classic? We'd recommend anyone go see this movie, whether or not they've seen it before. A nostalgic, it's worth your time to revisit it. If you watched it as a kid or a young adult or some point in the past in your life, it's worth your time to check it out again and have fun with it. But if you've never seen it before, just keep it that way. Or is it a tragic? It's not worth your time, whether or not you've seen it before. If you haven't seen it, keep it that way. And if you have seen it before, don't sully any good memories you have of the film with a rewatch. So we'll start with our guests first. David, what is your final rating for Barry's Not Included? You had predicted classic. Did it end up staying there?
I did. I stayed classic.
Oh, really? Okay. Wow.
Well, here's the thing. I recognize that some of my tastes are different. You and I know that with Holy Grail. So be it. Yes, absolutely. I would really like people to go back and especially friends to go back and watch it if they never have, even if they're a younger generation, just to see where movies have come from. And it is a really kind of lighthearted movie, but I thought it was really well done. It's worth giving it a watch. I would warn people, no, I don't think it's, honestly, if I had a top 50 list from 1987, it probably wouldn't be on that.
You're really selling me on this classic range, David, but all right.
But there was a lot of good movies that year, guys. Did you look at all those movies? But it is a good family film, although there's some parts of it, like the new painting and things.
And
but
the painted backdrop that's not the New York skyline.
Yes,
It's a better painting. I'll give him that.
But the story, I thought the story was good. Now if someone has ADHD or likes those Marvel movies or whatever, or just the new Star Wars movies, I would probably go nostalgic for them and just be like, nah, you're not going to like this.
Don't worry, Francisco. He's on his way. He's building his way to tragic. He went from classic to now nostalgic. He's almost there.
I'll admit, guys, I struggled with that because I am probably right in between nostalgic and classic. I don't know that I could go all the way to tragic. Maybe if I talk to you longer.
So your final reign's nostalgic or is it classic?
No,
I'm not sure.
No, I'm going to go classic.
Classic. All right.
Yeah.
Ken, you had predicted nostalgic. Where did it end up for you?
Classic.
Uh-oh.
Classic.
Whoa.
Classic.
Way.
Yeah, I thought
It went the opposite way.
Yeah, because it was better than I had to remember. I mean, I think I pretty much saw it, but I enjoyed the movie. It was I mean, the things you mentioned were true. I mean, they've been missed. I didn't see the backdrops, but some of the story. But I thought it was a fun, nice, heartwarming, warm movie of people coming together and sharing together. It's also, I mean, it's not like it's like you said, redemption. I was hoping for a redemption, but right at the end, Carlos didn't have it, which is fine, right? But I love the fact that in a sense, the redemption happened because, like, all of a sudden, you guys know how Jill was triggered by this, but hey, that building's in the middle of New York City now because they won the fight. You know, and so that's like, so they get to have it, and it gets now it's a historic marker, and it can have people come by all the time, including the office workers. So
that's true.
I doubt, after they pass away, I don't think they actually declare it a national landmark, right? But it does look out of place. But it's like, I just thought it was a classic movie. So I think if you've never seen it, go see it. Jessica Tandy, Hume Cronin are great to have.
Hey, Ken, I understand you were watching this on your computer monitor, 27-inch. Very nice. Were you doing anything else while watching the movie, like on your phone or something else to make the time go by faster? Or...
Oh my!
Totally engaged. Okay, that's impressive.
All right. Well, I guess next time I suggest watching it on a bigger screen and see if you feel the same way.
I mean, I didn't watch it all at once. Okay.
Oh, it's episodic.
Well, like I said, I saw this email about rating the movie. I go, I'm going to watch it. Dang it. And I was thinking, wait, so what am I doing? Right. All right. So I actually took Monday off from work. I wasn't feeling well.
Just to watch this? Oh, okay. You weren't feeling well.
Okay. And so I was watching
you're feeling
it.
better now.
Thank you. I am. I was watching it yesterday. I was watching it yesterday and today before I did the show. But yeah.
Well, now I feel bad.
It's okay.
Well, from our Rewind Republic, the people that support us on locals, they get to have a say in these final rating votes. And collectively together, they rated Barry's Not Included a nostalgic. So we're facing two classics and nostalgic. Paul, you had predicted nostalgic. What is your final rating?
Now's my long story time.
Oh, okay. Story time. Here we go. Buckle up.
When we first reviewed this before our records got destroyed or lost or
corrupted, they're corrupted. Yeah.
This was, I think, the pivotal episode that really made me push for we need a 3 rating system instead of a 2, either thumbs up or thumbs down. We needed something in the middle, which became nostalgic because this was one of those movies that at that time I felt I couldn't rate it classic, like everyone should go see it, and I couldn't rate it nostalgic because or I couldn't rate it tragic because there's so many good things in it that it's nice. It needs to be in the middle. And it had been several decades since I had seen it. It's a little delightful story. But it was about 10 years ago and I seen it. Unfortunately, in rewatching this, it wasn't long enough because
the movie wasn't long enough, or
no, it wasn't long enough between the last time I resaw it.
Okay, gotcha.
So I think if you haven't seen this, I would give it at least 2 decades between watching, if not more, and you might enjoy it more. But honestly,
that's not a range. So what's your range?
I know. I'm getting there.
All right.
Unfortunately.
You said it's a long story. Okay.
That's true. I should be more patient.
I'm gonna hold to my original rating that I wanted to rate and rate it nostalgic.
Okay.
Just because there are some people that would enjoy it. If you haven't seen it, it is a delightful little story. Is it flawed? Is it flawed? Yes. Is
Yes,
it
it's a likable
slow
little
and
story.
boring? Unfortunately, compared to today's standards, yes. But if you haven't seen it, I would recommend it, but it's not for everybody. So I'm going to go right down the line in the middle and say nostalgic.
Nostalgic. Okay.
Sorry, your review doesn't matter in the final things, Captain of Tragic. But let's go ahead.
Captain of Tragic.
Let's
Wow.
hear how horrible this movie is.
I mean, that's what I'm guessing he's going to say. It's
Right.
tragic.
Me too. I don't know.
Chat
Let's
room,
see.
get ready. So you all think, I don't know why you all think that. I'm gonna
I'm
rate
willing
this
to bet
movie.
money. I will put money down on this. I know you're trying to
give me a
trick
chance
us.
Here. Give me a chance here. So there was this beautiful resolution that happened with Jessica Chastain character Faye actually coming to grips with the loss of her son, and that's actually really compelling storytelling.
Yeah,
And-
that's hard to pull off, and they did a good job.
Yeah, and I thought they did a good job. They
True.
didn't sugarcoat with Carlos being like, "Oh, now you're Bobby" or anything. So I actually really admired that, and it made me sad that was in this movie because this is a tragic movie, so not worth your time. Slogfest 9000. I love the fixes. There were elements I liked, but as a cohesive unit.
They like to fix things. They have that knack.
Thank you. As a cohesive unit, I cannot suggest this movie to anyone. There's plenty of other fun robot movies to go see, like The Terminator. Go watch The Terminator.
Monty Python, Holy Grail.
Well, there's a robot in that.
Short Circuit.
Sure, maybe.
How about The Transformers, the movie?
The Transformers, the movie. Yeah, go see that.
The Black Knight was a robot. That's why. So.
Why was it bleeding then?
Because that's
Red oil. Berry juice.
Red oil.
Wow.
Okay.
So, given this fact that we are two classics, two nostalgic and a tragic, cooler heads have prevailed, y'all, and we will say that Barry's Not Included is a highly disputed tragic. Sorry. Sorry, my biases are showing. A highly disputed nostalgic film. We recommend
the captain.
Oh, man.
We recommend
He
if
can
you've
always
seen it.
overrule all of us, right? Because he's the captain, right?
If you've seen it before, then go see it again. It's be worth your time. But if you haven't seen it, then don't take the time to watch it. But now it's time to see what we all have cooking, where you can find us online. Bring up the ComStats, Travis.
Return to 20XX overrated.
What? Not 20XX.
ComStats broadcasting while awaiting return coordinates.
Where are we now?
I don't know.
We're still in
You're still
1980.
lost?
We're still in 1987.
87. Oh, can we go to my house now?
I'm
Not
going to invest in Apple.
Movie space timeline.
July.
oh,
we can go
that's
to
right.
my wedding. Okay, we can go to my wedding.
Oh my gosh. Was your wedding in the movie Barry's Not Included, or was it in another movie in 1987?
It was in the same country that it was filmed in.
That
It was
doesn't
in a
matter.
home video.
was there a home video that you could release theatrically?
Does that count as the
A movie space-time continuum.
It feels good to still be in 1987, even though sometimes I wish I was in 20XX. It feels good to be here. But
20XX?
We wouldn't be able to travel around the movie space-time continuum if it weren't for our amazing reflux capacitors. Namely,
Yeah.
Deborah Powers, Geek Devotions, Drew of the Cellcast, Ashley Ruiz, Kennethan. Oh, you're right here. Woohoo! Fabulous Lomax, Rosie Lomax, That's Our Bobo, D. Tungsten, Dale, Mr. Loss, Gerald Hafner, Cool Deluxe, in addition to 2 other awesome patrons as well. Thank you all so much for keeping the gigawatts coming. And if you want to help us keep flying and get bonus content for your generosity, such as our spiritual speculations and sometimes our edna mode outtakes, head over to retrorewindpodcast.com/support to start.
And speaking of sentient robot aliens,
Autobots, we're safe for now, thanks to the support of the reflux capacitors and PaulJPowers.com. So, let's transform and roll out.
Hey, Francisco, is there some way to support this podcast without emptying the wallet more?
Indeed, there is, Paul. You listening right now probably enjoyed this episode, especially if you made it this far.
I did.
So if you aren't driving, tap that share icon on your podcast player for this episode and send it to a friend saying, I know you like Batteries Not Included, so I thought you would like this podcast on it. Or something to that effect. You know your friends better than we do. Type it to them.
Cool. And I'll bet they'll thank you for it.
Indeed.
And speaking of thanking people, we want to give a big fix-it hug to David and Ken for joining us and supporting us with their thoughts about Batteries Not Included.
Indeed.
So I like to go alphabetical, and so we'll start with Kennethan, because he didn't have his name changed to Sir Jaziel. Sorry. Hey, Ken, where can people find you online? Is there anything cool you got going on?
No, you can find me at Kennethan on Twitch or Kenneth Live on Twitter. Normally it's my Train Tuesday, but I gave it up for you guys. But
thank you. That's very kind of you.
If I don't have to download it again, Star Wars Jedi Survivor tomorrow. So yeah, and
nice.
And don't forget Saturday with Sir Jaziel and Solomon, we do the Trinity MMO show talking about MMO RPG and games like that kind of stuff. So yeah,
nice. So David, thank you for joining us. Where can people find you online? Is there anything cool you got going on Saturday or anything else?
I do the Trinity MMO show on Saturdays with Kenneth and Solomon.
What?
Whoa.
But I also stream over on Sir Jaziel on Twitch, and you can find me there, or on Discord. You can always hit me up there. But other than that, it's all working with my church here locally.
Cool.
Awesome.
Can I do a favor and ask, what does Jaziel mean?
Well, there is a story to that. Way back in the 1990s, not quite as far back as we went tonight with the movie, I was looking for an avatar, a name to use on some of my gaming. I was listening to, back then, a really unknown band called Payable on Death that became POD.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd gone down to San Diego to watch one of their shows with some other bands that were playing at the time. And I heard him using Jaw in a couple of the songs. I thought that was really cool. And I was a pretty new Christian at the time, so I was like, I don't understand. So I went and got some information, everything on it. And I just had that rumbling in my head. And then later on, I was playing a MUD called Meridian 59, which probably only person here that knows what that is Kennethan, but anyway,
I played in the MUD when I was younger, but it's been a while.
Yeah, they were multi-user games that predecessors to MMOs.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so I was trying to find a more full name because you needed 7 characters at least for your handle.
Oh.
And I was reading the book of Isaiah, and I came across the word zeal.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know what they just connected. I went, zeal for God. Let's see. Oh, that zeal. And that's how it was born.
Wow. Oh, cool.
And so for people that want to find you online, can you spell that for them? Your handle?
It's SAR and
SIR?
SIR.
Okay. I thought I said SAR.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I heard SAR too.
I heard too.
I don't know. My accent's weird because I've got all kinds of different accents over here.
That's fine. The internet does that to people.
Yeah. Well, even in my family, everyone's got a different.
Oh, cool.
So SIRJAHZEAL.
Cool.
Awesome. Kenneth, and we didn't get to hear the story of how your name came to be.
So my real life name is Kenneth, okay?
Woo.
And my middle daughter called me Kenneth at one time, and I decided to use it as my thing.
Was she scolding you?
You know what's funny? I thought your actual name was Kennethan.
No, that's fair enough. It's close enough.
So it's actually like on your driver's license, it's Kenneth?
Kenneth, right.
And your middle initial is not A, and your last name doesn't begin with an N.
Okay, you know what?
Okay.
Then I was being silly, but I'm glad I asked because I learned something new about you. So that's awesome.
My son would call me Kenjamin Franklin sometimes. And I use it
Love
sometimes in some games, right? But
Better than
no,
what my kids call me. So
Is it poopy head?
no.
Okay. Good.
No, not at all. Okay. Well, awesome. Thank you so much, David and Ken. Thank you to my friend with no batteries included, Paul, and
Batteries
all
not
you
included.
and all you rewinders, new or old, for another fun voyage.
You're welcome. And you can find me, pauljpowers.com at pauljpowers.com.
Oh, okay. That's where I wasn't sure. And you can find me, Francisco, on our Discord for show announcements or just to say hi. Join us there at retrorewindpodcast.com/Discord.
This podcast is a proud member of Culture Box, a curated collection of podcasts, videos, and articles that will provide you a balanced meal of content. You will find culture celebrated for its past and future, satirized for its extremes, explored in study, and created anew in story. Point your web browser to culturebox.media.
Thank you, Nathan. And as he just said, we are a part of Culture Box Media Network. Yes, there's a whole network of us. You can find all the shows unpacking truth through story, comedy, and geekery. Comedy, is that right? Yeah, comedy and geekery. At culturebox.media, not .com, not .net, not .gov, ooh, not yet.
Media. Wow.
Culturebox.media.
Indeed. Thank you, EXO, and thank you all for listening. We pray you are more joyful today than when you first hit play. But like a Pokemon, we got to catch you all for, well, we'll have to get back to the Fix-Its in 1983 to figure out where we're going to go from here. So whatever our next episode is, we hope to see you there for another Retro Rewind podcast.
Rewinders of the Lost Pod mission complete. Review audio ship's logs for more details.
Fully guaranteed. Fine stores everywhere. Batteries not included.